Hey, and welcome to an episode of Conversations. My name is Jerome Taylor, and I am the pastor here at Eastgate Baptist Church. And these conversations are recap snapshots of what we are learning together as we study God's Word each week during our worship gatherings. And as of right now, we are looking through the book of Hebrews, studying it together to see how it declares confidently that this Jesus that we declare, that we talk about, that we speak about, that we have a desire to share, is one worthy of such confidence because he is more perfect, he is more excellent, he is far greater, he is far superior, he is the eternal God. In other words, Jesus is better, and it is our goal to let people know how incredible Jesus is and what he alone can do to transform our lives and the power that's found in his gospel. It is absolutely astounding, the hope that we have in him. And this assurance that believers have in Jesus, it comes out of a love that we have for God, yes, but even more so, understanding his great love for us, that he would call us his, that he would save us, that he would pursue us, that he would purchase salvation for us, not through any exterior means, but by taking on the payment for such redemption on himself, that he would go to the cross for us. He wouldn't send someone else to do it. He himself, taking on flesh, God Almighty would become the Word that became flesh. He would become Jesus, fully God, fully man, to go to the cross in our place. And the Bible tells us that we can confidently trust this Jesus because of who he is, not just what he's done. We can trust him because of what he says, not just because of what he's done. We can trust that he is a God. He is the one and only God, the one who exists. There is no one like him. There is no one but him. We can trust him because he is a God who is a promise maker and a promise keeper, that he does not allow any of his promises to fail. In his great love for us, he demonstrates the greatness of who he is and the greatness of what he does and the greatness of why we can trust what he says. So today, we're going to look at God, the eternal promise maker, the eternal promise keeper, and this God that is the one who spoke the cosmos into existence. This very same God is Jesus, the one who is better, the one who is worthy of praise. So, here we go. We're looking at Hebrews, and in this letter, as we look at it in the Bible, this letter has been divided up into chapters and verses. That was added later on. It's not original to how people wrote letters. They didn't go, "Dear Joseph, I think I would like to begin this chapter with this." No, they wrote a letter as normal. But we've divided it so we can go and find the same constant place instead of saying, like they added page numbers to books, the page numbers might not have been original to that book because there's different editions. So they added a page number so you could turn together to this place in that edition. Same thing is true with the chapters and verses in the Bible. They're for our following and studying together. But in this portion, this passage, we would find it in Bibles today, marked as chapter 6. We see the writer of Hebrews saying that you are dearly loved friends. This starts in verse 9. And in your case, because you are dearly loved friends, in other words, because you are part of the followers of Jesus, the children of God, the redeemed, we are confident of the things that are better and that pertain to salvation. You see, the writer of Hebrews has just been talking about the possibility for those who will flee and fall away, those who did not have true faith, and thus because they did not have true faith, they did not know the true Son and inherit true salvation and have a true demise. That is what they have earned by rejecting Jesus. That is what they had before they ever rejected Jesus. They just kept the same status. The status update did not become altered because they had some Jesus flavoring a little bit in their life. they did not truly follow him in faith. They did not truly believe. And so there is a distinctive difference between those who were with Christ and those who are without Christ, those who know him by true faith and those who may have surrounded themselves with the trappings of Jesus but never really followed Jesus. There's a distinctive difference. And the writer here is declaring that because you are those who have true faith, for you, one of the things that you can know about trusting the Lord is if you are his follower, you are a person who has the promise with a better hope, that you can be confident of these things that are better and that pertain to salvation. See, when the Bible speaks about hope, it doesn't speak in the way we use hope today. The Bible speaks of hope as a guarantee, as an assurance, as that which is secured, as that which is good, as that which is solid and firm and fixed and steadfast and immovable. It is absolute. And so when it comes to salvation, we have a better hope because it tells us that when we look to God, he has fixed himself on a better promise of hope to us, that it is not one of wavering hope or flimsy hope or wishful thinking or pipe dreams. Yeah. It is not one of those things. It is hope that is fixed. And it goes on to say that we have a promise of a better hope, that we can be confident of the things that pertain to salvation, that what he has spoken about him accomplishing salvation for us, about him sustaining salvation for us, about him promising and rewarding salvation. These things have a better hope. They're not simply wishful thinking. They are steadfast. They are fixed. They are as good as the one who promised them. And that's where we get into this promise that we have when it comes to the promises of Jesus. These are promises from a better, more honest person. All of us have probably entertained or had people in our lives that would tell us promises, and we knew it may be a toss-up of whether that was going to be kept. In fact, we may have even found ourselves in that scenario where we've said promises and we know it may be a toss-up of whether that'll be kept. And we also know people that it doesn't matter how much they promise, we know it's not to be trusted. But that is not so when it comes to God, that he is, one, not unjust. He is not unjust. He will bring justice to all things. And he will be the one that remembers all your works and the loves that you've demonstrated for his name. God is a more honest person. He knows every detail that's being worked with. He knows all things, and he is good in his promise. He's not unjust. And he continues to ask us to walk in that full assurance of hope that we have in him and his promises, so that we don't slack away from what we're called to do. We don't become lazy, but we imitate those who have set the pattern before us of this is what faithful living looks like. But then it says this, just as God promised to Abraham, and he made this promise not on an oath on anything else other than himself, that as one who is unjust, the one who is not unjust, and one who cannot lie, and one who never changes, he made a promise to Abraham that he would be the father of many nations. We see this presentation of Abraham as a calling back, as a remembrance of how we can trust in the better promises of God. That Abraham was a man just like us, that God called him, and although he was childless, he called him to go to a land that he would inherit, that God would establish an identity with him, and that God would provide a blessing to him and would bless others through him and his offspring. And here's a man that has no children, but God says, I will greatly multiply you, and I will indeed do it. I make this oath on myself. And so God makes this oath on the basis of, one, he's not unjust. Two, he cannot lie. It is impossible for him to lie because he's always good, perfect, holy, full of truth, full of grace. There's no deceit in him. There is no shadow in him. And thirdly, he is unchangeable. The same God that has always existed will always exist. He does not move. He is unchangeable. He is absolute in his deity. There is no different Jesus. There is no different God. The same God of the Old Testament, same God of the New Testament. And the Bible, in the book of Hebrews, says that Jesus is the same yesterday, today, and forever. So based on these things, we can come to Jesus and understand that whenever he makes a promise, he makes it on himself as the one who is not unjust, the one who cannot lie, the one who is unchangeable. He holds that which he promises. So the promises that he makes are made by a better, more honest person. More honest than anyone will ever encounter in our life. They can be assured. They are fixed. And lastly, these promises that are given to us they're given to us as refugees who need to flee to this place to seize hope. This imagery of refugees, it kind of calls back to the cities of refuge from the Old Testament, where there was these established cities that God said these 6 cities, 3 on the west side of the Jordan River, 3 on the east side, would be cities that should someone harm someone or kill someone inadvertently, they could flee here to have their life protected. If it was unintentional, they could go here and they would be protected. They would have a city of refuge, and there would be a hope for them that was fixed. It was a solid place. It was not just a wishful place. It was a destination. It was a place that God himself had set. And so this calls us back that God is saying, I am providing that place for you, and that place is in me. It's found in me. And based on what I have done in giving a promise with better hope, a promise from a better, more honest person, I also give you a promise with a better hold, that what I have fixed, it is an anchor for your soul. This is what verse 19 of chapter 6 says in Hebrews. We have this hope as an anchor for the soul, firm and secure. It enters the inner sanctuary behind the curtain. Jesus has entered there on our behalf as a forerunner because he has become a high priest forever. So Jesus, as the high priest, goes in and cultivates this for us. He provides this for us. The inner curtain, behind the curtain, was this one place where the high priest from a certain family, a certain tribe, could enter one time a year on a certain day to be into the very near presence of God. That was the only person that was allowed in that place, and they had to do it through the rituals and the honors of holy sacrifice. But this is saying, based on who Jesus has done, who Jesus is, and what he has done through the cross, that he has went there before us to be the perfect priest on our behalf, but also to be the perfect payment on our behalf. That he was the perfect priest that represented mankind and stood in that holy place that needed to be stood. But he is also the perfect price, the payment that was made, that the forgiveness of sins is through the cost of blood. He was willing to shed his own. He was willing to die, to have his life yielded so that we might have life. And that death on the cross wasn't the end. Of course, he was resurrected. He is God. But because of who he is, and he is a high priest forever, now, as he has done that, he has drawn us. He has brought us with him to be in that place of holy presence with God forever. That we have this promised better hold, that where God's presence is, we as believers are also there. Because we have Jesus, who has made the promise of a better hope, that is the person that is more honest and who has provided a better hold. This is why followers of Jesus have so much hope. This is why we believe that God is so good to us. This is why we want to make this known to the multitudes. That's why we do these little videos. That's why we have our worship gatherings each week, is we believe that God is worthy of such worship, but he's also worthy of such revelation to make him known as he's made himself known to us. And so we want to communicate that with you. Now, I will tell you this, if this is your first conversation, we invite you to mosey around a little bit more, looking through our Facebook, our YouTube, Instagram, Twitter. We're on those. Of course, you can go to our website at eastgatebaptist.org if you would like to find out more about who we are, what we believe, what we're wanting to do as we serve the Lord. And of course, if you are in the Flint, Michigan area, man, we would love for you to come check us out. We're over here on Atherton Road, just near Center. Man, we'd love to have you check us out, what's going on at Eastgate Baptist. But until next time, I hope these conversations are fruitful in your life. I hope they provide encouragement in your faith and challenge you as you walk with Jesus, as you follow Jesus. And I would encourage you to follow Jesus, to be his, because he is better. All right. May you be blessed. Bye-bye.